Okay, hello. Now this is what I'm trying to fix. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This time it took a while to come in, and it's it's frozen. Basically, it's in like super slow motion. Now, if I go to camera 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's not too bad. A little bit of delay with and my cameras, my phone, their phones, cameras being streamed over my local Wi-Fi. And it used to work a lot better than this. Now let's see if I go back to camera 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now I've on and off I've tried everything. That's not so bad now. But it's random as to what happens. I've tried everything, you know, I could think of, everything that I, read up on it and everything, to try to make it be consistent. Instead of, you never know what you're going to get, when you click on each camera. And I've got a couple of more things I could try. I started thinking, let's see, well, let's stay there. Oh, let's see what happens now. I'll just wave this. Oh, it's taking forever to come in, so let's see. Yeah, it's behind. Let's see. Sometimes if I go to cameras 1 and 2, both of them are okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, now 2 is good. That's the one behind me, and then 1 is terrible. So sometimes let's go back to 1 and see if that straightens it out. No. Okay, going to the desktop, which is what I was fixing to do, and then changed my mind. That didn't help it any. Oh, let's close this. I'm making a good backup file in case something goes wrong. Sometimes I do have to upload a backup video. I had to the other day. Okay, now back to camera 1. For some reason it's really taking a while to switch, and that seems to be a good indicator that, yeah, I'm not even going to count. I started to do a count, but I'm not even going to do it. I just get on the desktop now, and here in a second we'll show what I'm going to do. I was going to look at my list to try to, okay, now my older router, I'm using my newer D-Link and right now, and I'm streaming over it, and I have no other Wi-Fi routers turned on. But I could turn on the old TP-Link because really I had less trouble on it. But I remember having to reboot it all the time. But now I could actually use it. It dawned on me. It could be daisy. Let's see if I can go back to the camera now. It could be daisy chained. It is daisy chained to I bought a gigabit network switch, so have more ports, and they're gigabit ports now. So they're both gigabit routers. So, and it's already daisy chained to the switch. So I could go back to using that router for a while just to see if it helped. I don't see why it would, because this one's, the D-Link's more powerful and goes further, and it has faster top speed. It's about 1200 megabits, and the TP-Link's about 750 megabits on the wireless, and the 1200 megabits is over. That's 200 megabits more than a gigabit. So anyway, but somehow maybe I got to thinking, well, maybe the other one actually did handle all this data that's being streamed over the Wi-Fi, and I just now realized how slow that is again. It's all whacked out again. So this is what I mean. Go to camera 2 again. Let's see. Let's go to cameras 1 and 2 again. No, it didn't help. But, well, now it might be a little better, which is crazy. Same camera. I'm moving stuff around to see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that camera 1's behind camera 2 by quite, by about a second probably. But if I hold that up there, does it go in the camera? Yeah, but you can't see it. Anyway, I'm just experimenting and trying to, when it goes wrong, I'm thinking, normally I just leave it alone, and half the time I don't say anything about it. Sometimes I say something about it, but I just let it, instead of interrupting my video whatever it is I'm really trying to do. But this is what I'm trying to do, is figure this out. So I'm just messing around with it. All right, so now I already tried changing the encoding to FFmpeg, and it defaulted to MP4. Well, that overworked the machine, which I knew I'd tried the MP4 before, and it overworked the machine. Turns out FLV is the default with OBS Studio, and that actually works better, less overhead on the machine. So, and I actually always like MP4 better than FLV, but FLV's flash video, and flash is usually the opposite. It's usually, I don't know how many times I've been on a website in flash when I used to put flash in my browser when it was like the player. I'm starting with Windows 98. It did it way back then, and then when I moved to XP, it would still do it once in a while. It was better, and then on Linux, when I started with Linux, it still did it in Linux too. So it would use up, 98, 100% of your GPU. I mean, not your GPU, your CPU, your processor. That's kind of, I remember that's how, I kind of was remembering the other day, that's how part of how it worked is it would send the data. Okay, this is what the video is supposed to look like. Let's just kind of imagine it's saying to the computer, this is what the video is supposed to look like. And it sends it in the data of the video. Instead of sending the actual, now this is a real non-programmer's explanation, but and it's been years. Windows 98 is when I read about all this, and I thought it's the coolest thing ever, because I was on dial-out. There wasn't, just people with cable internet had fast internet, and it wasn't 200 megabits. It was 1 to 3 megabits down, and I had 56K. Best I got was 56 kilobytes down, and whatever it was up, I don't even know on dial-up. But so it would have make you enable you to watch a, back then, say like a 640 by 480 video on dial-up. But what it did is it told the processor. It sent the ones and O's to the processor, and the processor recreated that video in the image that basically, instead of actually just streaming and playing the video live, it was recreating the video. It was maybe you could say it was encoding it, or it was processing it. I could say that, and I'm not quite sure exactly how that said. They explained it back then, but anyway. But what would happen is it would end up being too much. And I had a Pentium 3 with, I don't know if I had 256 megabyte RAM or 512 megabytes of RAM. I ended up with 512 megabytes by the time I got Windows XP and put it on that same machine. And then later, actually, I don't think I ever got to upgrade. It was so expensive for memory back then until later when the machine was old. But, well, actually, I got another machine and built that Pentium 4. And actually, I think I started out with 512. Well, I had 512, and I think I went up to a gig for a long, long time, and then finally, now it has 2 gig in it. That's the max the machine can run. But I'm off on another tangent here. But it's just crazy to me to see now that the flash encoding, the flash transcoding, the FLV is less work on my machine, and actually it's better. For the longest time, the reason there was 2 reasons, that, and then the reason MP4 had a visibly higher quality video. You could see it looked better than FLV did. Now FLV in OBS Studio looks good. I really can't. I actually did one. I was just saying. I changed it to FFmpeg, which is the one that kind of the default for Linux. Linux distros generally always pick that as the one to use of the encoders that are available for Linux, and it's a good one. I've used it for all these years, ever since 2005, since before I even knew what was being used. Actually, I'm not sure that far back, but last several years, I know. And it's usually already installed, in your basic distro, or if you install any video software, then you'll get it by default. You don't have to do it yourself, And you do have to add it onto your browser, though, if you want to use it like inside your browser. But not for watching videos, but for encoding videos to save them or anything. And or for converting them. Encoding videos, you usually end up doing the encoding when you're saving it as a different format from what you originally got it as. So anyway, but if you're making a video, then you have to encode it with some kind of encoder in order to send it out to the internet, or in this case to YouTube, So it makes a lot of difference what encoder you use as to how much system resources, how good the video looks, and how well it will play on other machines. Of course, FLV has been around forever now. So, well, MP4 is actually older than FLV, I guess. It was MPEG video, then it was MPEG 2, MPEG 3, and then MPEG 4. So that's what MP4 stands for, is MPEG 4. That's the file extension. And then FLV is, I can't remember what FLV actually stands for, but it's flash video. And anyway, that's what I've been using on YouTube. And of course, there's quite a few others, but YouTube doesn't support them all either. So, for instance, it doesn't support OGG video, OGV. I didn't remember that. I thought it used to, and I had when I first started using Google Photos, they weren't getting uploaded, and I was like, what the heck? And I was using another desktop program before I discovered OBS, record my desktop, and it only would save in one video format, and that's OGV. And so I still got probably almost 75 or 100 videos that I still need to transcode, convert to, something that YouTube will accept. Okay, back to okay, so back to my beginning of my notes. Sometimes I hate looking at my notes because I go nuts. It sends me off on sidetracks. Anyway, there's three things that I got in my head that I could try. The other router, I don't think that would. I just can't see that really being better, but I won't know for sure unless I try, because what if, I keep thinking, what if that's actually the main problem, is that this router just actually doesn't handle it as well as the TP-Link. And if I were having it with it daisy chained, even if I have to reboot it every time I make a video, I won't interrupt the internet connection, because I can only send the phones through it back through the switch back to the D-Link to the internet, So that could actually be only thing is I might have plans for it. I'm going to put it in the garage and make it a wireless repeater for my server, so I wouldn't really be doing that for very long, I don't think. And I don't think I would want to put the D-Link out in the garage, so make it the repeater. But the encoding, I went around and round and round about that. So what I was trying to say, what I was meaning to say, and not get off on a tangent about how it all, trying to explain how it works and not getting all circled up about it. I switched it to FFmpeg, which I didn't even realize at the time defaulted to MP4 file format, I'll just say. And the machine, I saw this is a quad-core Lenovo i5, Intel i5 processor, quad-core with 4 gig RAM. That's what I've got, best thing I got. It was staying around 40 or even 48, about 40% CPU usage. It usually stays around 20 normally. OBS Studio I'm talking about. And let's go to the desktop and I'll show. Right now, okay, it's jumped up. It'll jump up when you're on cameras. It goes up. That's something you got to keep in mind. When you're on a camera, it goes up a lot. It was at 55 when I clicked over. Now, on desktop, it'll stay around 21% most of the time, somewhere within 5%, plus or minus 5%. So, if you go to camera and you're making an MP4 video, I caught it once at 90-something%. Probably right when I switched, when I had gone from camera to desktop like I just now did. So, that is a no-go. I had to hurry. I knew that the machine pretty soon would probably lock itself up, so I had to get out of that video. So then when I got to looking around, I realized that it was, I didn't know why. Well, I think I'd already figured out. I had looked at I was keeping Crusader open and watching my file like I usually do. It's not open right now. And I saw, hey, that's an MP4, not an FLV. Well, you can set them. You can set it. If you go into settings and set it to FFmpeg, you can select FLV. You can select a lot of different formats. So you just have to make sure and do that. I thought about trying that, but I really didn't think it would help, so I haven't tried it. But so that's my other thing of 3 things I could try. The problem I think it really is, and like I was talking about switching routers, I think it is all to do with just the wireless. It's the source, the camera coming over the Wi-Fi. And so now I'm going to finally get to it here. Okay, now I'm going to go, I'll go to camera. You have to get to the right place so that I can show it and talk about it. Where the heck are they? I don't know why I'm tired. My eyes are tired today. Okay, so there's cam stream 1, cam stream 2, 3. Yeah, when I roll my wheel, it's going right by it. That's what it is for some reason. Maybe I'm rolling it too far. Okay, cam 1 and desktop. Now you'll be able to see. Let's try the camera. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, it's still behind. It's just not wanting to play nice tonight. It started out, not after the initial bad. It got better, and now it's just staying bad. And this is what's making me, I've been just going ahead and making videos about it so that if I figure it out, I'll have a video about it. Just finally finished my countdown there on the screen, on my preview. Now, I did one thing that does help when they're working right, and that is I kept trial and error until I found what was the best. Pretty close to good. I've got 120 milliseconds of delay on my SM58 mic, the one I'm talking on right now, and I was fixing to show it, but I won't do that right now. And I ended up really deciding I didn't need any on the. I used to always put it on the. I'd put it on the wireless Cam 3 lapel mic coming in from the wireless, and nothing on the SM58, and that was better. So things have really changed a lot. Okay, so let's get back to the desktop. Look on the. I guess it'll be the left side. It's left to me of the screen. It's not as big as it is when I just do desktop. But can I get off of that? I'm afraid I'll mess that. If you could see that, well, you might. Yeah, you could probably see that on the desktop. That the camera view was selected red. That means you could alter it. And I don't want to alter it by accident. Okay, so. Now, the way you stream video is use a VLC Video LAN video stream, and I'm using an app to do that on the phone. It's called IP Webcam, and it works really well. It's got a lot of features. I looked recently to see if I could find any other app that I thought might work better, but I didn't see any I even thought I'd try. I've already tried 4 or 5 apps, and the IP Webcam's the one I decided was the best. I've been using it at least a year now. Oh yeah, when you select these, it highlights whatever you select. I forgot that. Now there's audio to cam 3 to the desktop, and then which I'm not even using the wireless. That's from Cam 3 from my lapel mic. So basically, it's my wireless mic that way. Lapel mic, just plug it into a phone and then stream it with VLC audio only stream. It works best if you separate them. And since I have 3 phones that are identical, it works best that way for me. Because if you stream two streams at the same time on the same phone, then it works it pretty hard. And it may be, I don't know, well, it works, it's okay. I think what it is, it's not that it, because these are quad-core phones with a gig of RAM. It's enough for what I'm doing. And that, I don't think it hurts them in that way. What it does is the Wi-Fi chip, the maximum I've ever seen them at is around 72 megabytes. I've checked them, They may go, I've seen them fluctuate between 15 and 30, stay around 30, 35 a lot. And then the other day, I checked one of them, and it was 65 megabytes, which I was kind of surprised. I haven't checked them a lot since I got this D-Link router, so they may do better with it, even, I don't know. But, but that's plenty, because even if I was doing audio and video, I wouldn't even be doing a megabit, so if I've got 65 megabits, I should be fine. It might be more than that on the local Wi-Fi. My whole total stream is only around, probably tops at 2 megabit. After everything's processed through OBS Studio and everything, up to YouTube. I can tell that because if I do a speed test while I'm not streaming and while I am streaming, that's where I get that idea. So anyway, go back to the video. There is something I could do here. I think I'll go ahead and try it. Let's see, the properties. Okay, now, in the video, properties, I right-clicked to get in there. You can click that little gear at the bottom left too if you want, or at the bottom of the screen and under that source. So I'm on the scene, Cam 1 and desktop, and the sources is where I'm working. And so what I have it set for, in theory it should work well, is stop when not visible and restart when visible. But I think maybe this is the only thing I could do to maybe help it, except I don't know if my machine can handle it. I'm afraid it will, because when I play, I also tried just doing a VLC stream, picking up the VLC stream not in OBS Studio but in Video Land. You can do that. There's the little icon for it right there, up there. Just pick it up in there. Well, when you pause it and start it again, then it starts back up where you left off. So that's no good. And if you let it play all the time, it starts using up the memory on the machine too really quickly. So that's why in here, I don't remember if I ever tried it any other way than this. I think this was the default. And in here, you can also pause when not visible and unpause when visible. And that would be good for, say, if you're playing back a video instead of a live stream, and you want to stop it, talk about something else, start it again. But you can also do always play even when not visible. So I'm going to try it and see what happens. I don't know about changing it in the, while I'm streaming, if that will, what it will do, but I'm going to switch to, let's just do camera 2 in desktop and see. Well, let's go to camera 2. Let's go back to camera 1 now since I've done it. No, let's do this. Camera 2 is pointed at my monitor, so it looks like 2 desktops, one blurry and one clear. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, it looks like it's a little behind, but not super bad. And that one is still the way I've been using it for the last at least a year. Okay, now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That does not help. It almost makes me wonder. Sometimes I've tried it several times recently, restarting the phone. I restarted the modem and the router before I started streaming, so that should all be fresh. The cache shouldn't be overfilled or anything in those. Memory shouldn't be over, full in those machines. And this phone here, and it's the closest, oddly enough, and could be, it's the closest one to, it's like not even a foot from that phone to the router. It's sitting up there on top of my monitor, and the router's behind there. And now I finally see my hand move. I mean, it's just almost frozen. So that now it could be that I need to shut down the program, the OBS Studio, and open it back up to get everything to refresh, my streams to refresh, and I may have to do that. But I wanted to see if I could show it live before I did that and tried to talk about it, because I didn't intend to just sit there and talk on about things. I just wanted to show and tell, because as you can see, I get turned around, and I think of so many other things as I'm talking, and it makes me crazy sometimes. Bound to be crazy sounding to other people, I'm afraid. Okay, stop when not visible, restart when visible. Oh, I just remembered. Always on. I may have to do that in every scene to have that to take on. Let's go to camera 1 again and see. Okay, now I'll have to do this while you can't see what I'm doing. I was just doing it that way so that you could see. No, it worked. It's global. That's good. I have to keep doing it over and over and over. It went to every instance of that, or at least it looks like it, because I just went to cam 1. Now let's see what about cam 2. Properties. Yeah, always play even when not visible. Okay, now let's see. I'm going to count this on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now it's behind. This could be worse. It could end up being worse because the longer it streams, maybe the longer it lags. Like I said, using up more memory or whatever. Processing power. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So far behind, I'm not going to bother to wait on it. Okay, let's go to the desktop. Now let's go see what's happening. Well, it didn't jump up. It was 29 and down to 22. So, of course, over time is where this happens. Like, it could take 30 minutes, 20, 30 minutes, maybe an hour for you to have trouble with your VLC stream filling up. You would think that it would go ahead and delete the cache automatically fast enough. The program would, just like your web browser does. But, well, VLC itself didn't when I tried it in there. And I kind of think I tried it in here, but I just don't remember for sure. So let's look at 1 and 2 now. Let's see, yeah, cams 1 and 2. Now I'm going to make sure that that what I did. Yep, always play. Oh, I see me counting down now. I think it actually made things worse. Is that possible? The only way I'm really going to know for sure that what if my change didn't take effect yet, actually, and, maybe it didn't happen in real time. Some do, some don't. Some things you can't change while you're recording. So, let's see, endoscope, well, it doesn't have those, settings in it. So, and I haven't noticed this kind of problem with the audio stream. Yeah. So, like cam 3, let's see, how would I look at that? Yeah. Or I don't use the video on cam 3 hardly ever. I'm going to leave it as it is for now. Because I have no clue. Okay, now this is stop when not visible, restart when visible. That is the way it is on the audio and the video on cam 3. So I'm not going to change it's the video audio I was thinking of. I'm not going to change it right now. I'm just going to, oh, it's black because I was like, why is the screen black? It's black because it's showing cam 3, and cam 3 has the camera's only audio, no camera turned on. So you weren't getting anything from it because I'm actually talking on the SM58. So, bad thing here is, I'm trying to think how I can do this. The bad thing is, I don't know what I was going to say. I knew I've been kind of tired tonight. It took me a long time to even start on doing anything like this. I was messing around with uploading some other videos I made yesterday. I made one yesterday, but I didn't do it live. And I'm going to hold it back until after Christmas. Because I don't want anybody to see it until after Christmas. So I've uploaded it, but I made it private until then. Okay, so what I need to do then is stop this stream and close OBS and open it back up. And I'm thinking I'll try it. I've noticed that it waits good long time, 30 seconds to a minute before it gives up on me. Even if I hit stop here in this program, I've tried to stop it whenever it had a unhealthy stream, so I could just start over, and it takes forever. I have to wait like a minute, it seems like. So let's go back to that camera one more time to see what happens. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You know what? I think that messes everything up really bad because, or either that or it's just stuck behind and it's not going to change. It may be that does not work. I'm seeing stuff from the past here. See, the camera's still on me and still picking up video, so I think that was something that happened when I was on desktop video. Or maybe I did it while I was on camera and I just don't remember, but picking up my paper towel and all that. And it's definitely really, laggy and all that stuff. I waved and I don't see me waving, so. Then I saw me wave just then, but I think that was a different one. It wasn't meant to be a wave, I don't think. Okay, so anyway, I'm going to try that, and if that don't work, well, it'll have to be another video. I'll just come back and say, okay, that didn't work. So I will go ahead and do my exit like normal and then come back. Okay, Don back again, and back here with another test stream. I didn't do my intro because I was trying to not lose my stream. I shut down. I think it worked. Yeah, it did. Because my timer over there on my preview says, oh, look, my camera's scratching my hand and I can see me scratching my hand. My camera's, yeah, I got 31 minutes on the timer over there. So I actually was able to close OBS Studio, open it back up, and of course you'll lose that time in between there. You're not getting that because it's not running. But it will, you know, basically kind of live edit the videos together. So that's actually okay at this point. Okay, so we'll do a countdown. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so that's usual for right now. I don't know if I can make it any better. Sometimes it is a lot better. It's very, very close sometimes. So if I give it more audio delay, I can give it audio delay on this mic to try to sync it with what I'm seeing. Actually, I read on one of the forums for OBS Studio that when you do that, when you set audio delay in a mic or in an audio channel, well, yeah, just say that. You can do it both ways, video and audio, but I don't have any. My video is not ahead of my audio. It's way the other way around. Okay, so you can do that, but you're not going to see it in the preview, which I never would have dreamed that. I don't know if it's hard to implement that or what. But what I can do is just watch it. I have enough time to do my countdown and then look over at my laptop that I use to monitor my stream and turn on the sound and watch and listen and see how long, how the countdown went over there. So I've been doing that. So let's go to camera 2 now, and we're just going to experiment around. Let's go to the desktop first and see. It was at 48, but it went down. So wouldn't that be nice if that was actually the fix? Now, we don't get too excited yet. It hasn't gone down to 21 like it usually does, but that is not too bad, just a couple of percent. If it doesn't do any worse than that with, VLC streams playing constantly. Now let's go back to camera 1 again. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's not so bad. It could be that I'm just lucky that actually closing OBS and opening it back up made it happier, So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, now that's quite a bit behind. I did forget to have my hand up at the top. We'll do one more countdown because sometimes right after the switch it's a little laggy. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now cam 2 is kind of more laggy than cam 1. It's not as bad as cam 1 was here before I changed those settings. But let's go to cam 1 and desktop like I did when I was doing the settings so I could show. Let's make sure they didn't get changed by accident. Always play. Okay, hit cancel. Now this is cam 2 and desktop. Let's see, video. Properties. Always play. Okay, so I'm going to leave them like that. For now, I hardly ever use video on cam 3, but I do have it in the scene. I just don't turn it on an IP webcam. But let's don't do it now. But I think I will later on. That's actually cam 3 and endoscope, but at least you're seeing. Isn't that a cute little? That is a sticker off of a 386 PC, and I've just got it laying up here on mine. That's actually my TRS-80. It's not even anywhere near as powerful as a 386, but that's where I have my endoscope setting, and I thought I wanted it plugged in, and I just thought, well, I need something to stick up there, and I saw that it's been laying on my desk for a long time. It fell off that. It was coming off that PC, so it was in the garage. It actually is would be a running PC if I don't think I took any parts out of it, but anyway, I always thought I liked the box, and I thought I might put some newer motherboard in it, but it's a big old box. But and the reason I liked it mostly was because it had these rails that you attach to the hard drives. Let's go back to the camera now. It had rails attached to the sides of the hard drives, and you could just take the front cover off, and they would slide in and out. It wasn't hot swapping, but it was the next thing to it. And I was used to do that a lot. Put a hard drive in a machine and to test it out or do something with it, then take it back out, you know. Or say I wanted to put a Linux live distro on it and run it from the hard drive instead of a CD, because running it off a CD was painfully slow to wait for it to boot and all that stuff. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Do you suppose this is actually helping as much as it looks like it is helping right now? Only way I'll know for sure is if I don't have trouble. Let's go to camera 2 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It is much more behind than the other one, so it's still random, and I think it's just. I think there's so many factors: how well the router works at that moment, other interference, like I've said over and over lately. The interference between other radio signals and other routers, neighbors' routers, and then the phones themselves, how, you know, they have, I know that, for instance, well, I'm not 100%, yeah, I'm pretty sure that if you unplug them, say I keep them plugged in so the batteries won't run down, but also if they're not plugged in, I think that they actually throttle the Wi-Fi, you know, slow it down to keep it from using as much battery. Because I tried a lot to use them, you know, carrying them around and taking them out in the garage and all kinds of things and not having them plugged in. And even if you're going to do a short video, it will lag a lot worse unplugged than it will plugged in, especially after about 5 minutes. That might be about the time the battery starts discharging enough for these built-in software to throttle the Wi-Fi and anything else that it can do, you know. But so we're on the desktop. Now let's go see. That's fine. That's normal. I really thought, oh, what about the memory? That's the thing I was worried about. I just remembered. Let's see. VLC is not running, the VLC player. It's just receiving. Now there, oh, it's using FFmpeg. That's the muxer, the transcoder that it's using. Well, that's weird. So I think I can go in there and show it, but I just can't change it. So let's go into the settings. But the memory usage is fine. That's 421 megabytes. And then the encoder is 4.1 megabytes. So unless there's some other process that actually handles those VLC streams, I don't see any big. Let's go. Oh, we're actually organized by memory. Yeah, let's go by CPU first. Okay, there we go. Yeah, we're actually organized by memory. So yeah, if anything was really working real hard, then firewall 29 megabytes. So the only thing that's using any, you know, memory to worry about, and that's not to worry about. I've got 4 gigs. So, and then the shared memory is 128 megabytes. So maybe this will work. Okay, so I know this countdown. It drives me nuts to keep doing the countdown, but now my face is itching. It's the only way I really can tell. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, not too bad. Well, at least I can use it, you know. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's still about the same as it was behind. See, the phones are constantly streaming. You know, as long. I mean, that's why I always stop after however long. Sometimes I always try to set a rule myself. Don't go over an hour until, you know, without rebooting. Actually, they do just about as good either way, but I routinely go 2.5, 3.5 hours, sometimes even 5 hours on one solid stream. Now, if I go that long, I might have my cameras. Well, not my cameras freezing up. They'll do it. They do start lagging more usually, but like I said, it's been so random that it's hard to tell sometimes that it's any worse at the end than it was at the beginning. Sometimes the beginning is the worst. My favorite, you know, what I like to do is start. I like to start up here on beginning sound 1. I mean, beginning titles with no sound, and then titles with audio with the guitar, and then I like to go straight to cam 1, and that's where it's just been like frozen almost, just terrible slow motion. And I mean, I used to. I worked at trying to get my mouth in sync with the video. Well, I gave up on that and just tried to get it somewhere close. Well, now, if you've seen my tests or any of my other videos lately, but it's just terrible. So this is actually an improvement right now. Trying to think of what else I can do. Well, let's go through all the cameras. We'll just do that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It seems to be staying consistently okay on camera 1. Now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the one reason why I've just got this, well, it's easy to, I could have put this camera, you know, that's behind me anywhere. That's still about the same as it was. Not terrible, but not good. Is because I use it a lot this way, pointing at the monitor. So when I'm working on another machine, I can switch my KVM switch over to that other machine. And if I'm, you know, installing, I'm still in the process of setting up Fedora 29 server on my Net Pro Max machine. And so I was. And so I can just show the reboot, you know. You can't show, you know, what's going on another machine without remote desktop. And if you're rebooting, you obviously can't do that. Or if I don't even have it installed yet or whatever. Okay, now cameras 1 and 2. I don't think I've done that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now it's quite a bit behind on the camera 2. I got a chance to, now since it was just switched, let's see if it gets any better. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now see, that's not good, but it is better than it was. And so far, so good. I'm beginning to finally feel an inkling of encouragement. Now, I'm not going to do more countdowns on here. I'll wave, I guess. That's okay. That's 1 in desktop. Now 2 in desktop. I'll just be waving when it cuts in. There it goes. Took a bit, like it has been. In a scope, it actually freezes up sometimes. In a scope in cam 1. That's not so bad. That's usable. In the scope in cam 2. It's barely usable, I would say. The thing is, they get so far behind is, you know, I'm trying to show the machine booting up. Well, it's done booting up and it's into the desktop. And I'm talking about the desktop and you're just seeing it, you know, the boot screen come up. So, this might be the solution. Could be. And I know that I've seen a lot of posts when I was looking it up the other day on OBS, like forums or whatever it was, or help pages, whatever they called them, people having this problem. And they were doing the same thing as me. Well, actually, I realized they were saying they were using the pause function. Well, when I remember, and I'm not going to fiddle around with it now just to see, but when you pause it, that's what it's meant to do. You know, you pause the video and then restart it at the same point it left off. So, yeah, it would be out of sync. But maybe that's the way they, you know, this was like at least maybe 2017 post. It wasn't a 2018. I always try to look at the years to see how current they are, because if somebody does say this is the fix, and I don't want to try an old fix. But anyway, I was trying to remember. Okay, you got the 3 choices. You've got, let's see, that's just audio. Okay, what do I got to do to, 1 in desktop, I'll just have to show it because I can't even remember. Always play, pause, or, always play, pause, or the one that I was using, stop the video and then restart it when you get back on it. I think I really did have to do that. When I first started OBS Studio, I didn't have this Novo i5. I was using my Red Black Battlestar, which is only a 1.8 gigahertz dual core with 3 gig of RAM. So I had to keep everything low, low on the resource usage as I could. And waving, okay. Waving up here to camera 2. Well, come on. Okay, finally. So yeah, it's still behind, but finally, maybe I'm gonna say maybe this is what will work. And I can still tweak on the audio. Let's see. Let's go to camera 2 and desktop. So the audio coming in from cam 3 to the desk to audio cam 3. What? Oh yeah, it was confusing me. Okay, so if I go to properties, okay, now the audio wave, let's see, properties again. No, that's not it. Cancel. Oh, I'm in the wrong place. Let's see. I guess I really just need desktop. Okay, for instance then, you go, okay, I'm on the mic aux, the one I'm talking on, the SM58. Go to the gear, click on the gear, and then go to advanced audio properties. I'd forgotten, I don't know how that escaped me. I've tried to find it again for months and couldn't find it. Go to advanced audio properties and see, I ended up going with 120. I just noticed I put, there's up and down, you can go positive and negative. Like say audio from, I'm not using that right now, so yeah, see, I did that. I went down, but it went to straight 120. But that's what you want. Maybe that, I don't, now that doesn't make sense. I know I didn't put, maybe it lets you do that because that's how I used to do sound for bands, and that's how you do it with, you know, Pro Sound Gear. Is you can go positive or negative. You usually can't go more than, I don't remember how far, 10, 50 milliseconds positive, probably 10 to 20 milliseconds positive, and you could go down negative probably up to a second or two, you know, maybe even more. Negative, you know, slow down the audio. And anyway, it was supposed to be slowed down 120 milliseconds, but now it's not showing a positive, not a negative number. Maybe it just displays that way, but it doesn't when you're clicking in it. See, look at that. It lets you go either way. And this is how I remembered that I had done before. See, when I upgraded from Fedora 23 to Fedora 28, I was able to import my profiles, you know, my scenes and everything. Well, they're called profiles. I'm going to close that before I mess something up. But you can't do anything while you're streaming, but when you're not, you can export them and import them and stuff. So, but I noticed that not everything worked. And actually, I think I couldn't find it ever since then. Yeah, you don't even have to click on, like I could do the same thing up here on Audio Cam 3, click the gears, go to Advanced, and you still have the ability to adjust all the inputs. You could do the desktop, audio, you know, all of it. But and of course the volume, they're all 100%. That's the way I want them. You can turn on monitoring, and then you'll hear it on your speakers, but you'll get echo, and you'll get echo, and you'll also even get feedback if you don't watch out. And I don't know if I did that or if it was defaulted to up to 4 tracks, but I'm really only using one stereo track of audio. That's all it's actually turned on in the settings. And in the settings, see how things look there. Yeah, they look okay. In the settings, I was talking about now I'm kind of wondering about I'm just going to go straight to the output, and then you go to, there's the streaming, that I haven't been changing, but go to recording. This is what I was changing, and it's in FLV and standard, but obviously from the looks on my system, it is encoding with FFmpeg, but there's 2 choices, standard or FFmpeg. Maybe standard in Linux is FFmpeg, I guess so. And it's but when I change it to FFmpeg, it there's a whole nother bunch of stuff that shows up there. Matter of fact, I might be able to show that. Hit cancel and get out of that, or I end up making things not nice here for the, let's see. Let's go ahead and open up file browser and get to my screenshots. The only thing is I don't have, oh, that's what I'll do. I think I can go to OBS Studio. I have a folder for OBS Studio, and I think I already put some, oh, that's profiles, OBS Studio info. I already put some screenshots of that in there, I think. It'll open up. It might have, as slow as that's opening up, it must have went back to using, no, it used the same one. I don't know why it was slow. Anyway, okay, here we go. This is the way I'm doing it right now. Let's see. Okay, now let's go back. I think back is the way to go. maybe not. What was that? That's a whole nother part of the settings, and that's where I was looking it up on the forums. Now, now this is on advanced, just general advanced. It may not have what I was trying to show. We'll see. Video. And I'm not going to go into each and everything as I see it, or I'll never get. Oh, I was trying to figure out what's the replay buffer. I'm playing around with that. It's for replay. It's the replay. That's what it is. Here, that's the same setting I have. That's what I am using, standard. And see, this is when you're not recording, so you can see that you could change things. Streaming. Actually, I don't think you have anything else but X264 on there. Maybe because it's YouTube, you know, because I picked YouTube, I don't know. But size, I'm doing 1920 by 1080. That's my palette, what they usually call it in video, or the canvas. They're calling it the canvas here, base canvas. Sometimes they call it palette. I guess maybe they call it palette when you're doing just a regular still image, and canvas when it's video, or depending on the program too, maybe. Now that was where I was trying to fix it before recently. I was adding video delay async, but it was on the camera 3 audio only stream, so I was actually delaying audio, and I went up to 100,000 milliseconds, which is a second, and that was helping, but then it got all really out of whack after the, you know, everything changed again automatically as it's been doing, all the streaming. Okay, so, oops. I don't guess this darn screenshot that I was wanting to show you is in here. I didn't ever get it in here. Okay, now we're back to, looks like we've made the round robin here. Output scale resolution, I was just looking through them. Most of them I'm using on the defaults. Yeah, okay, we're back to the beginning of that. I didn't want to go to my screenshots folder. Oh, I know what I can do. If I can type right. Got to have your fingers on the home keys. Oh, pictures. Now screenshots. Okay, so if we open this with WinView, I have no idea what's going to come up, but I can go to thumbnail view and then find what I was looking for. Probably like a screenshot of the last video I was watching and didn't finish. Sometimes when I don't finish them, it takes a long time to open up. Oh, it's shopping stuff. Let's see, where is the thumbnail view? No, I don't normally use it, so, oh, it's a bar. That's not the way I wanted it. How do you get rid of that? There we go. It's let's see if we're okay. We might be using a little more resources now than we were before as far as the CPU. Memory's still around the same there. Pretty much exactly the same. Folder, no, I don't need that. Info, operations. Oh, I think you go there, browse. There we go. Now, here they are. There's a bunch of them. I don't know how it managed to hit that, but it's a bunch of OBS Studio stuff, so let's just go there. Okay. Yeah, that's a video. Okay, so that's the same thing, and then this is what happens when you change it to MP4. It gives you the warning saying recording saved to MP4 will be unrecoverable if the file cannot be finalized, e.g. as a result of a BSOD, power loss, etc. If you want to record multiple audio tracks, consider using MKV and remux the video, or re-encode the video to the recording to MP4 after it is finished. File remux recording. Oh, you can do it from here. Oh, I didn't know you could do it in OBS. I wasn't paying attention when I read that. Okay, standard, still, MKV. I just thought I'd see what are the options when you do that. Standard, FLV, and then custom output, FFmpeg. This is what I was wanting to show. Now it changes the whole screen. output to a file, and I had to tell it where to go because it was defaulted to home Don. And then you have right there, container format, default format. Well, that's MP4, and I didn't notice that at the time, and I recorded a video, and it was in MP4, and that, honestly, I changed it to where I want it to go, but I still hadn't noticed that, and I did that one test video, and started using 90% of full cores, you know, so I can't use MP4. And then I put it back. I hadn't remembered to put these pictures, these screenshots in my OBS folder so I can find them easily. I need to do that. But yeah, that's back to some. Well, that's OBS, what it was using there, 2%, and that is at rest, not recording, I believe. There's when I was changing the. I noticed that the desktop audio was turned down, and I thought, is that the way I've been using it or what? And there's when what I arrived on with my setting the delay on the SM58 or the mic aux input, and you know, is what it is. But that's, for me, it's the SM58 now. I think that's what I was thinking I was going to see was the video. So the machine. Sometime, yeah, now my machine's slowing down. Oh, it wasn't slowing down. I was just clicking on the same place I'm already at. Dummy. Okay, so it's all right. Yes? Okay, yeah. That's not going to kill me. I see it quite often anywhere between 20 and 35% in my normal streams. Now, since I've been over here on the desktop a while, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Could it be that I actually fixed that horrible problem that's been plaguing me? I've been leaving it alone because I couldn't think of any way to fix it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And no, I kind of already knew this anyway, but I have rarely arrived at the decision. It's still slower, but it actually hadn't changed. It's the same as it was. It's not going all over the place. You know, slow, fast, slow, fast. So, I figured out that if you're going to stream cameras over your Wi-Fi, you're going to have a fluctuation. And if you get it working pretty well, then be happy if you get it working even close. And I'll do a couple more videos before I go back and fool with those, you know, audio delay settings, because I know it won't. The next time I make a video, it could very likely be the reverse. Maybe camera 1 is slower, camera 2 is more right on, because it was just, you know, no telling what could happen. So. If I've already done it before over and over and over, and you drive yourself crazy playing with that audio delay, trying to sync it. Couple of times I got it to where you could really tell my mouth was saying the word that I was saying in the audio, and it wasn't right on perfect, but it was close enough that I was, at least I figured with the Wi-Fi cameras that's the best I was going to get. And again, I've already tried streaming the audio from the same camera that the video's coming on. I thought, well, maybe they will just automatically be synced. Well, for one thing, with the VLC stream, they're not the same. They're not encapsulated in the same stream. They're two separate streams, so that doesn't work. What it does is it works the. Well, I said this earlier. I'm pretty sure the problem is that you're trying to send the audio and the video, lots more data, over the Wi-Fi, you know, chip that's in that phone, and it just gives you more lag, a whole lot more than doing it separately. So here, you know, the lapel mic is going to phone 3, camera 1 up here, and then camera 2 back behind me there right now. That actually does work the best for me, and probably would if you were wanting to do something like this. If you have. You know, the thing is what's cool about this is even if you don't have, and like I bought these cameras for $15 each, I don't have service on them. I bought them, I call them cameras. I bought them to be cameras. They're phones, you know. And of course, I wanted to use the other features for pocket computers. That's basically what I bought them for. Of course, turns out all I really want to use them for is phones. Cameras, I can't ever get anything right. So, and actually, that. Phone 3 actually was for my mom, and she was supposed to use it for a phone, but she decided it was too complicated, so she gave it back to me. So let me see if my sound is, yeah. So So I can do a 2-camera shoot with a wireless mic. I didn't discover the apps, the idea of, and you don't have to have a lapel mic. You can just talk, put the phone, you can just lay it down close to you, but the sound is not near as good. You get all with the built-in mics, they're evidently condenser mics, and they get all the background noise in the room. And if you have a window open, you'll hear everything going on outside. This lapel mic is, it may be a condenser, but it's a different. If it is, it's a different design. Generally, the little lapel mics are condenser mics, but the mic itself has something that blocks out a lot of background noise. Not as good as an SM58. You can really tell a difference when, if there is background noise. You'll hear a lot more of it with the lapel, but not like the phone mics. And actually, the lapel mic is a lower volume than when you're doing it the way I'm doing it, doing transmitting it over Wi-Fi with the IP webcam amp. Now, if you're in the open camera, the volume, no matter what you do, the volume's low, and I have never found a way, or any camera app there's 1 or 2 camera apps that have volume adjustment, but they don't work very well. I didn't like them from that way. And if you're just going to record straight to the phone, I like open camera over everything else I've tried, and it's open and everything works. You don't have to pay for it to get everything to work, stuff like that. And it has a lot more features than most of the apps too. Sometimes it goes back. Last 2 times I've used it, I had no trouble. There have been some bugs in it. It's constantly being developed. It's an open source project. It's crashed and stuff like that. But actually, most all apps I've used have crashed. Well, I will say, IP webcam crashes very occasionally, but no, it's not. I was gonna say it's built on open camera, but no. There's some other camera apps that were not. They were just like basic functionality for free, but the good stuff cost you money. They were built on open camera, and if I'm gonna pay for one, I'm going to pay for open camera. So anyway, that does not stream though. So this IP webcam streams only. You just have to put up with ads in it, but it's fully functional though. It's got lots of features. That's what I'm streaming with. So, and you can stream over the internet with it if you want and stuff like that too. The whole idea with these apps most of the time is to be like, take your old phone and turn it into a security camera, or they call them nanny cams, or your baby cam, or whatever. Well, I'm using them like this. And what's cool about it is, almost everyone has phones like this now. So it doesn't matter what brand or anything. This is Android. But it doesn't matter what brand as long as it runs Android. Now I don't know about iPhones or any other stuff. I'm sure there's something available. But as far as Android goes, this particular app, IP Webcam, is the one I would use. It's one I'm using. And if you were wanting to make you could borrow, just temporarily, of course, you could borrow your friends' family's phones and put that app on there and set them all up, or carry them around, or whatever. You got to take it slow. You can see you get ghosting when you move. Well, if you move the camera, you get even more ghosting. That's why I like to leave them on the tripods as much as I can. And if you move slow, it's not so bad, though. If you can remember to move slow, like if you are moving around, or move and then wait for it to quit ghosting and then start showing and telling. Anyway, you can do as much multi-camera shoot, audio, video. And like I said, you don't have to have, you can just take your phone and lay it down by you. If you're holding the phone, you're going to be making noise on your audio, though. That's one of the main reason I got this lapel mic, because there's a little hole in the phone where the mic is. Well, that's exactly where my fingers and thumbs want to go. And I'd be through half of my videos, sometimes I'd be moving the camera around, and I wasn't doing the live stream even when I was doing like with open camera and just making a normal video. And of course, when I move the camera away from me, it gets quieter. And then when I get closer, it gets louder. Well, with the lapel mic, and especially with it plugged into a dedicated camera phone, that's just for the audio, then unless I bump into it or something, it's all constant. Or unless I put my head way down. Right now I'm talking on the SM58, but Oh, let's go ahead and do a test. It's the only thing I haven't tested. Let's go ahead and
switch to the
lapel mic.
Just
see what
difference there might be with the sync. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now this is on a lapel mic. It's about the same. Maybe it almost looked like it was a little bit more behind. Now let's capture camera 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's quite a bit more behind, and I don't have any audio delay, so the video's behind, you see, but they're not the same either, so you have to find a happy medium. I don't have any delay at all set on the audio coming from Cam 3 right now. I could do that, but I haven't done it because it wasn't the one that was giving me the worst problem. Okay, now let's do this again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It actually seemed to get a little better after switching. Used to, that was more the case of what would happen. Let's do cameras 1 and 2. You can see them both at once. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You're just about done with camera 1 and the camera 2 starts showing up. And that is aggravating still, but still way better. I'm talking like it was getting so bad, it was getting like to a minute behind, I think. It seemed like it. It was probably more like 20 to 30 something seconds behind. But anyway, one in desktop, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 2 in desktop, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That was pretty slow. Okay. And the endoscope should be pretty well the same. Let's wave at it. Endoscope and me. Let's do that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I switched to the other side there. At the time when I set that up, that's what I thought I liked better. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, but that seems kind of odd now, switching me from the left to the right side of the screen. Well, and I also I didn't have my system figured out as much, you know, like I didn't, I was always changing which camera I used where a lot. And I finally realized if I'll do it more consistently, like anytime I have this shot here, I use camera 1. And anytime I do basically any other shot, I use camera 2. I have it behind me at the monitor or over there on my work table pointing down at it. Sometimes when I'm working on the work table and I want to show like another angle, then I might turn camera 1 over that direction. Or if I want to show my routers or anything, that's the one to do it with because it's already up there. I just have to turn it around. And just watching, try not to knock it off too many times. Endoscope, I move it all over. Lately, I'm starting to realize it's really not too bad having it right here. I can actually reach up here and put a piece of paper under there, or whatever it is. The other day, showing a remote, you know, showing the buttons on it. But so I'm going to go ahead and go back to the SM58 now, and I think it's about as much rambling on about all this
as I can do. So. Just realized I'm getting really hungry. Did I have my lunch yet? I cannot even remember. Yeah, I must have. Okay. Yeah, because I got up at around... well, I've been sleeping in the daytime and up at night, but yet I went to bed at noon yesterday. But I woke up at 6, and I laid around. I was tired still. Ate a snack, ate a protein bar. Laid back down for about an hour and a half, up and down, up and down. Finally, I got up. Usually I sleep at least 8 hours, 8 to 10 or 12 hours. I only slept 6 hours. And so now it's 3:13 a.m., so I had to have had lunch. I couldn't have gone that long. I ate breakfast at 6, 7, around 8 o'clock in the evening. So, yeah, I don't remember what I ate or anything. Oh, yes, I do. Now I remember. I know what I ate. Okay. I always eat TV dinner. So I had a Marie Colander. That's the brand I like. It was beef and potatoes. It's kind of like, it's not the beef stew, and it's beef. I think it's called beef tips or something. It's just beef with brown sauce and then green beans. And those green beans this time were kind of okay. Sometimes they're horrible. That's the one. They have good meat and potatoes, but sometimes their vegetables are terrible. They're hard, you know, like they're green and can't even chew them up. They always they don't do anything but green beans, and they mostly do green beans in there. Well, it's either broccoli and carrots or green beans. I like the broccoli and carrots better, except for when they cut up the stalks and put them in there. You can't chew them up, and they're turned into strings in your mouth, and then so does the green beans half the time. Boy, for about a couple of years, that's all you got. I just got to where I didn't even. They got so bad, I would just scrape the green beans out and throw them away, which is a big waste of money. But anyway, but I've been eating those things since I discovered them in, I don't know when it was, probably early 2000s. I've been eating them every day since. I don't, they're not too bad. They're not as bad as other TV dinners with the salt, and they taste better than any TV dinner I've had. Most of them do, except for the green beans. I like vegetables and stuff, but not bad ones. But yeah, I don't cook. When I was a kid, I cooked. I liked cooking, but well, when I was 17, I burned out on cooking, and I've really never liked doing it again. I did it every night almost not every night. Most nights, I would say, of the week, I cooked dinner for my family, me, my mom, and my brother and sister. Maybe half the nights, because we did a lot of TV dinners and back then there were those little salty ones, greasy, salty ones. A lot of canned food, a lot of stew out of a can, and but I cooked because Mom was a single mom raising 3 kids, and she just too tired. She would take us out the reason I started cooking is because she was taking us out every night, and it was costing a fortune. And when we were littler kids, but when I was 12, I decided to learn to cook, and I started doing it. By the time I was 17, I didn't want to do it anymore. I was tired of it. And so I've only done it occasionally ever since then. Well, when I was young, when I was 18, I got married. We ended up raising 3 kids, and my ex-wife was a good cook. She didn't know how to cook until after we got married, but she became the best cook I ever knew, actually, next to my Aunt Margie. My Aunt Margie, my great Aunt Margie, my mama's sister, she was famous, the famous cook in our family. She especially baked really well, but she made the turkey and dressing that had the secret recipe, you know, the thing was that she just did it out of her head, you know, pinch of this, a dash of that. And I got her to give me the recipe, but she told me, no, it won't come out the same as mine. And I said, well, why not? I thought she was saying I wouldn't be able to do it. And of course, I liked cooking, you know. Actually, I was getting it for my wife to do it. I wasn't going to do it. She says, because look what she was cooking at the time. And I said, look what I do. I don't measure anything. I said, well, how about some of the things she didn't have measurements written down? She says, I don't know. Just put what I think it needs. And that's really the secret to cooking. You need to learn to be able to do that. I learned that I already knew when she said that, I knew what she meant, because that's how I cooked. I didn't like following recipes. I liked making up my own recipes. Sometimes it was too hot for anyone to eat, or too peppery, or whatever. Sometimes it was good. But I liked pepper, and I liked garlic when I was cooking. And I loved meat, potatoes, fried food. I fried everything. Either fried it or stuck it in the oven and kind of broiled it. I didn't really like baked stuff. So I'd broil it in the oven and make a big mess in there. It's probably a relief when I quit cooking. To the kitchen. I caught frying pans on fire at least 3 times during my cooking career when I was a kid. And I usually could put them out. You usually could just take them off the stove and let them cool down. They'd go out. Boy, if you catch an iron skillet on fire, that thing don't cool down forever. It won't quit burning. And one time I remember it was filled up. You know, our stove was like a cubby, pantry on the left, stove, and then another cabinet, like a pantry, but we didn't put food in it on the right. And then a vent hood above the stove. Well, something I figured out, learned the hard way, is when you catch a pan on fire, and even if you slide it off, like I said, sometimes if the pan's too hot, if you let it get really, really hot, especially if it's an iron skillet, I quit using iron skillets because that's one of the reasons. That and they're a pain to keep them clean. You know, you can't just wash them normally and all that. Anyway, slide it off and just wait for it to die down. Well, the vent hood pulls the flames up in the air and gives them more oxygen. So it makes, one time, I remember, I'll never forget that, just the side of that fire, it filled that whole cubby, and you could see the flames actually going up into the vent hood and being sucked through there, and I was afraid it was going to, I didn't know. I kind of knew there was a pipe up in there, but I didn't know really when I was a kid like that. I was afraid it was going to catch the roof on fire, the attic on fire, burn the house down. So I don't know if that was the one. I guess that was the one. I know one in particular time I grabbed, I think my brother and sister were there, and I yelled, open the back door, and grabbed the pan. Of course, I had to use something to grab it with. It was hot, even on the handle. And I don't think it was an iron skillet. I think it was just like a stainless steel skillet or whatever, one of those with the copper bottoms. And I took it outside and set it, you know, on the ground outside, and it burned down out there. I tried, you know, well, the first thing I tried once, no, I don't think I already knew not to throw water on a grease fire before I started cooking. I think my Mama taught me that. Anyway, I remember trying at one, it might have been that huge one. I threw baking soda on it and it wouldn't put it out. Just made it go poof, poof. Probably that was, I think that was the time when I took it out in the backyard. And then just left it out there because it ruined the pan. I think I might have left it out there. I left it out there to cool down, and then I may have forgot. And Mom came in, what the heck's been going on, you know? No, caught the pan on fire. And jump forward, when I was grown and I had a little son, I had 2 daughters and a son. My son loved butter, and he was 4 years old. He must have been at least 4 to be able to get up and do this. But we had a toaster oven, you know. This was in the, well, got married in 75, so he was, you know, about 3 or 4 years after that. Well, more than that, because first we had our daughter. She was 2, I think, before he was born, and then the second daughter, third child, took a couple of years after that. So, you know, I can't do the math in my head right now. I'm tired. Anyway, probably close to 80, you know, 1980s around in there. Well, probably about 78, 79, I guess. And that's beginning to hit because I think my youngest daughter was born around 80, 81. So anyway, they were all 3. Now, they were all 3 there. So in a Saturday morning, I wanted to sleep in. Well, my wife, her mother, was taking classes. She wanted to go to school to be a nurse. She was taking classes. She was gone, and this could have been a Saturday morning, or it could have been, I was on second shift during those years. So I worked from 3:45 in the afternoon to midnight. So, you know, I was not, I needed sleep to be able to keep working, right? And we didn't just work 8 hours usually either. A lot of times we'd work 10 hours for months on end, and Saturday and Sunday too. So I don't know what was exactly going on, but anyway, I always had to have my sleep. And so they got up and were hungry. So he loved butter. He tried to make toast. So he put a whole stick of butter on 1 or 2 pieces of toast in the toaster oven. Well, one of the girls woke me up and said, Daddy, Daddy, Daddy. What? He said, the toaster's on fire. The toaster's on fire. I was like, holy crap. At first, I didn't know what they said, you know. Got up and ran in the kitchen, and that toaster was full of flames. And if you open the door, then, of course, it came out about 2 foot up, coming out of there. And it's like, what is in there? I mean, at first, I just thought, you know, a little bit. I said, what do you make it, toast, you know? And, you know, a little bit of, sure, I've seen, you know, butter drip off toast in the toaster oven and catch it on fire many times. I did it when I was a kid. I don't know how many times. but I'd use little bitty squares of butter like that. I didn't use this. Finally, anyway, I didn't figure it all out until later. So I couldn't figure out what to do besides I unplugged it. Of course, that made no difference whatsoever. That stuff was hot and it was burning. It had just, gotten that hot, just like a grease fire. It's just like a grease fire in a pan, only it was in the toaster oven. So I grabbed the darn toaster oven, and again, I already knew what to do. You take it outside and you throw it in the yard. So I threw it out in the front yard of where we lived. We lived out in the country then. We didn't even have any grass. We had dirt. We had bought some land and put a mobile home out there. It was the way it was there, it was real sandy, and it was a hill, so you really couldn't hardly grow. I never tried to plant grass. I never got around to it. But there was so many trees, there was no grass hardly on that. There was hardly any spots on that place that had grass except from the very back where the trees were thinner. But I loved it. It was in the woods. That's the way I wanted it. But, I didn't necessarily want to not have grass there in the front yard. But anyway, and I was so tired. My wife, she went for a few classes, and then she was home by 10 or noon or whatever, and she came home, waking me up. What the heck? What's been going on here? She was really mad. She'd never seen nothing like that. I'd seen lots of grease fires. I'd made lots of grease fires. I was like, and so I had to tell her that story about little Don. He was my Don Jr. I had to tell that story about him catching the toaster on fire, and I had found out, after I threw it out in the yard, and she said, "Well, why'd you leave it out there?" Well, I said, "What's ruined?" I'd found out that he'd put a whole stick of butter. They'd showed me. I said, "How much butter did you put in there?" And they'd showed me. He didn't want to tell me at first because he realized it was a big mistake. Even though he was little, he finally realized. And so. Anyway, the toaster, of course, I thought it would be ruined, and she got all over me about leaving it out there in the yard, so I went and got it and brought it in. It had cooled off by then, and I thought, well, nothing to say it wouldn't work, so cleaned it up, plugged it in, and it looked all scorched, but it worked. It worked. Didn't have to buy a new toaster. I don't know if that would happen with the newer ones these days. But back in the 70s, you could catch your toaster oven on fire and it'd still work after that. But, it wasn't fun at the time. But I was tired. I was worn out for some reason. I do remember how I was really extra worn out and barely could tell what was going on. Even with all the excitement, it didn't keep me awake. I was so tired I went back to bed. I did get them something to eat, though. I didn't leave the kids without no food. But I just wanted another 30, 40 minutes before I had to get up, but that didn't work. But, yeah, the moral of the story is feed your kids when they're hungry, or you might don't tell them what they might do. I don't know why in the world I'm telling stories, but I'm having fun. The other thing they like to do, they would get up at night sometimes. We'd get them in bed and everything else, and this would be in the winter. And in the mobile homes, as most mobile homes, it has the heater. It has central air, hence central heat, and the vents are in the floor. This one didn't have central air conditioning. They didn't usually back then. We had window units for air conditioners. We actually started out with a water cooler, which people like to call swamp coolers now. Well, we used to call them swamp coolers back then. People like to call them swamp boxes now, I think, a lot. But when I grew up, when I was young, when I was little, till we moved into this house right here that I'm in now. This is my house my mom bought when we were kids. It has central heat and air, but before that, all we ever had was water coolers. And, of course, you had one big water cooler in one end of the house, and then you go crack the windows on the other end, and it tried to, it made it nice and humid in there. It was better than nothing, or better than just a fan, but boy, humid days, it was miserable. Anyway, that's what was in that mobile home when we bought it, and I bought some window units. Got us some decent air conditioning, but it cost a fortune to run those things. I remember way back then in the 70s, I'd have $250 a month electric bills on a 12 by 60 mobile home. That's about 750 square feet, I think, something like that. I figured out. Anyway, wintertime, the central heat, it worked good. It was a good heater. It was big enough to handle the this was a trailer that didn't had the 2x2 walls. It wasn't some of them. Actually, there was some of them they built in the 80s. They started building them with 2x6 walls. Well, this had the 2x2 walls, so it only had, an inch and a half space for insulation. It's not actually 2 inches. 2x2s aren't 2x2s. They're inch and a half by inch and a half. And so anyway, hard to cool and hard to heat, but gas, propane, we had propane out there in the country. That wasn't near as expensive as electricity. So we didn't have to worry about being cold with that central heater hooked up. First winter we didn't have it. We didn't have a propane tank, and we were using electric heaters. That was a whole other thing. But cold winter. But the kids, this particular year, I didn't know they'd been doing this until something went wrong. They would, I guess, pretend to go to sleep, and then get back an hour or two later. I don't know how they stayed up that long. They would get up, and the girls, of course, had little plastic plates, little plates and cups and stuff. And I guess kind of what got them started on the idea is that they had a easy bake oven, and you can actually bake little cakes and stuff in it. It has a really high wattage light bulb that makes it hot enough in there to actually bake stuff. I guess they still make them like that. I think actually I saw one years later that it wouldn't cook anything because it wasn't hot enough. That they thought that the light bulbs were too dangerous, to have 100 watt. It was just 100 watt or 100, maybe 150 watt bulb or something. And, I mean, yeah, you could get burned if you stuck your hand inside of it. Well, that's part of raising kids, is to teach them that's hot, don't touch it. That plug will shock you if you stick a fork in there, and all that stuff. So, or a screwdriver. My son did a little welding on my 220 plug that I put in for the air conditioner. He stuck a screwdriver in it. He didn't do that but once, but he was real handy like me. But anyway, the kids had got up, and they had their little plastic, and they'd been doing this, I found out, for I don't know how long, a couple of weeks or something, not forever. But they would they'd get up, and they thought it was fun, to get up. And we had been, I think, I don't know if the power went. We didn't really have trouble with the power going on back in those days very often, even way out there in the country. We did have electricity. Nobody was into the off-grid thing back then. That was what poor people did that couldn't afford no electricity. And back in my day, back in my grandparents' day, it was absolutely unheard of for anybody to not have all the modern conveniences. I mean, they grew up without them, and they wanted them. Well, I wanted them too. But it was fun to use the candles once in a while, and we would do it just for the fun of it. We didn't have to wait for the lights to go out, and just turn all the lights out and turn on the candles. And so I think the atmosphere of that, they like that, and I don't know why really, but all three of them, they were still pretty young, They get up and get their little plastic plates, put marshmallows on the plates. They discovered that if they put the marshmallow on the plate and then put the plate on the heater vent, it would warm up the marshmallow, and they were making toasted marshmallows. It wouldn't toast them, but it would warm them up and make them soft. And I tried one. It was pretty good. But the problem is they had to come and get me, because they left one on the heater vent too long, and it started melting the plate, and it was stuck on the heater vent, and they couldn't get it off, and they scared them. Luckily, and I remember, imagine waking up to Daddy, the plate's stuck on the heater vent. What? And of course, they knew what they were doing, and I come in there, what are you doing? What have you been doing up? We're making marshmallows. And so I said, well, at least you could have got a real plate, because we had a bunch of glass plates that could have stood that perfectly. And I said, but don't do that. if you want a marshmallow. But don't use a toaster either. You know, I didn't say that. I don't remember about that. But some of those things I do remember. Almost everything I said and they said. But some of those things oh, my stream's bad again. I sure hope I don't have to re-upload this whole video. I don't think it's my internet because every time I check it, the speed's good. I'm 200 down, 10. I got 200 down officially and 10 up. Well, I'm usually getting 212 to 215 down and 12 around 12 up megabits. So I think it's YouTube. Unless my router's really just this brand new router's not working right. But okay, my stream's fine now that I changed that setting, so it's not the router. I see me still moving around, so right, pretty much almost in real time. So it's been happening every other time I do a stream. Last 3 or 4 days, I do one almost every day lately. Been trying to fix this, and I'm trying to fix it so I can get back on my servers and all that stuff and Mom's PC. But it'll start out yellow, go green, and then the next thing later on, it'll be red or yellow, but it's red right now. Used to I would just go ahead and stop the stream and start over or something, but as long as I have my backup video, I'm not even going to worry about it. I was going to go look at it, but I'd have to open that program, and I'm getting ready to quit anyway. Sometimes it doesn't hurt the stream, it's just that it may be caching. As long as it doesn't completely die, it may be caching if somebody was watching it, you know. And that would be aggravating, of course, but it's not the end of the world, at least. It always shows. I thought it didn't show anybody watching unless somebody was actually watching, but every time I think to look at it, I can't see it unless I page over on the laptop because it's not a very wide. It's not a widescreen. Well, actually, I guess it is a widescreen laptop, but it's not wide enough for that. Not big enough or whatever. Anyway, it says one watching. I think that's my laptop watching my preview. So, toasting marshmallows on the heater vents with your plastic plates is not the best way to do that. But, raising kids, I guess I'm thinking about it so much because it's almost Christmas and everything. Raising kids can be quite an adventure, a lot of fun, and sometimes pretty hard, but definitely the most wonderful part of my life. And I think that it was good that it started young. Well, I can go on about all that. You know, there's a lot. Everybody always told us don't start too young, but we did anyway. I was 18 and she was 17. But for any you know, problems or whatever, especially for me personally, I was young and healthy, and then my health got bad. So I may have never gotten to do 1/4 of what I got to do when I was young if I'd have waited, because I'd have been, if everything had worked out the same, you know, my health being bad, then yeah, you can't really rethink the past. I used to love to do that. I was really into time travel movies and TV shows, and I still like them a lot, but rethinking the past is just a futile effort. I finally realized that even if you could change things, you would probably very most likely not make it better. You could even make it worse. But anyway, what would you really do? I mean, if you really could, what would you really? What could you do that would work out any better? You don't really know. It's just like the first time. If you went back to try to fix it, it'd be just like the first time. You wouldn't really know what the outcome would be until it happened, and then you'd be, if you really could go do time travel and change things, then you'd be in an endless loop of trying to fix things. So, best thing to do is try to change your future, not your. You can't change your past. If you want things changed, then try to change them. Try to do things differently or better in the future. So, I don't know why in the world I broke into story time, but it did. So I mean, it's kind of okay in a way because I'm giving me a nice long test. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, yeah, this one I think is perhaps, I don't know if it's actually any slower than it was a while ago, but definitely has not improved over time. Camera 2 hasn't. Maybe camera 2, the phone itself is just feeling tired, you know. But camera 1 has been steady. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It has changed a little, you know, a little slower a couple of times when I switch back to it. But after I go and move something to another view, you know, desktop or camera 2, and then come back, it's back to the way it was. So hopefully, let's go back to the desktop one more time. Looks to me like what now I see it was at 57%. I was on those 2 cameras, but it went right down to 22. So that's completely usable. It's not using up all my memory on my machine like I feared. So maybe that is actually the fix. Well, I'm still not going to say, yeah, that's the fix, when I know how this streaming over the, you know, cameras over the Wi-Fi can change from time to time while you're streaming, or from stream to stream, you know, there's just too many different factors. Kind of like going back in time trying to change things. There's too many different factors as to what can foul it up or to make it work. So hopefully, now I think, though, I will not do any more working on it and videos on fixing it unless it really fouls up again. I'm going to leave those settings like that. Yeah, I need to go in and do camera 3. I'll do that after I stop the video. Make it the same in case I did actually do. Once in a while, I go ahead and turn on video on camera 3 and just carry it around and use it, you know, handheld. And so I want it to be set just like these. So if you are having this problem with your, you know, your video lagging really bad, latency, terrible latency between your audio and video being out of sync when you're doing a, you know, a VLC stream in OBS Studio, perhaps go try. Well, of course, you can use the audio delays on your mic inputs, whichever they might be. You know, mic to the computer. You know, like I'm doing. Well, I'm doing my SM58 through my mixer here. Little Behringer mixer goes out of the mains of it to the VM effects processor, and that does not create any noticeable latency, you know, delay. This analog sound gear works really well. The problem is once you get out of this, go down that wire's not even. It's about an 8-foot wire or so. That's not even a problem. Now, when you start getting around 8, 10, 15-foot wires, that can be noticeable sometimes with low-quality wires. These are pretty decent wires that I'm using, cables that I'm using. See, I don't use your little old cheapy RCAs for, I mean, I've got some on here for tape inputs and stuff. But for your mic, I wouldn't trust something like that. But anyway, when you come into the computer, then that analog signal has to be converted from ADC, analog to digital converter. And then when you're using all this kind of stuff like software and everything else, well, that is a hardware chip that does that. But then when you're getting into digital audio, I did analog audio all these years and learned digital audio as it came up, as it was being invented. And all I see is just more pain in the butt with it. The only good thing about it is you can make copy after copy without loss. That's what's great about computer, you know, like copying. Like, you know, if you copy a video tape, then you're going to, every time you copy, well, if you copy the same, that's why people kept masters, so they would copy the master every time, because if you copy this one, first, second, third, fourth generation, each generation gets a little worse quality. That was always a big problem with analog video, you know, and all that. But so that's wonderful about you know, digital video. But when you're doing sound or video, well, it's the sound is the thing. It's every time you have to do an analog to digital or digital analog conversion, you get latency. And now they finally have, there was always some certain amount of latency you just had to deal with. Or unless you had like, super expensive equipment maybe. Well, it was years ago, earlier days of ADC and DAC, that was it, but now, and 5 years ago, you had to spend a lot of money to have something that didn't have a lot of latency. Now, the chips are getting cheaper, so, like for instance, I bought my mom a little speaker that uses Bluetooth to, it receives sound over Bluetooth, and then I had to get a Bluetooth transmitter to plug it into the TV so that she could, she doesn't hear as well anymore, and she couldn't understand the words. So I knew that she had a speaker close to her that actually only put out, it doesn't go super low and it doesn't go super high in the frequencies, so it puts out mostly where the human voice is. So she can understand that way better than the nice big sound bar that we have for the TV. With it goes in from 30 hertz to up in, I don't know how many kilohertz, up pretty high. She can understand it very well. Even it's got some basic EQ in it, but it doesn't have a real EQ. It's just on the remote, and it's like it's set to preset to different types of music, which is kind of, I don't know why they do that with those things so much, but what I figured out is blues, set it on blues, and then turn the bass to 6, no more than like 6 on that thing, then it's pretty good for me, but I don't go in there that much anyway, but for her, well, another thing is the source, if it's a commercial, if it's a movie, if it's a TV show, if it's an old TV show from the 60s or 70s, every one of them was recorded differently, so it needs to constantly be changed. She's kind of got to where she understands how to do it now. But sometimes she forgets, though, what to do. Or the thing about that particular remote, you have to use the remote that came with that speaker. That's the only one that'll work with it. I bought a multi-remote, but it wouldn't work with it. You can accidentally hit the EQ button when you're meaning to just turn the volume up or down. And so sometimes I'll go walk through there and I'll have, man, that thing is booming with the bass, And it's not what she wants. She just did it and didn't know it, So anyway, sound is intriguing. Audio and video is intriguing and fun, interesting, and also about one of the most aggravating things you can do when it doesn't work right. But okay, so if the next time I start making a video and things are about like it is now, then it'll be usable, and I won't keep fiddling around with it. I left it alone and it just kept getting worse and worse, and I thought, it'll get better. And I do not know why still to this day. I haven't changed those settings. The ones I just changed today, I haven't changed them as long. I don't know remember when I did that. It might be the defaults. But it could be that when I changed from, I really don't think I've ever ran it the way I'm running it right now, though, because I didn't think it could. I didn't think my machine could do it, because Fedora 23, well, that's the same machine. Fedora 23 to 28 is the same machine, but like I said, I lost some settings and just I've been looking for those settings, the ones I showed you about the, the delay and everything. I've been looking for those where you click on I guess I kept going. I know what I did, because I kept going to properties. I was like, there's nothing there. Why did they take it away? I don't know why. Let me show that again, because I didn't show it. I'd go to properties like that, nothing there, and I was like, they took it all away. What the heck? You got to go to advanced audio properties. Why that didn't? My eyes are crazy. They just don't see things right. So why I didn't see that, though, I don't know. But and there's some other things you can do, like you can do filters and all that, and I've showed that in other. I don't want any filters on the SM58. All my filters are in my Behringer V-amp. We've got noise gate, compression, EQ, everything in there. I don't even use EQ on the little mixer. I just use it in the V-amp because, I already had it set up, because I was just using the V-amp. I had to use a low impedance to high impedance adapter, which lost some signal strength before I got the mixer. But now with the mixer, the way I have it set up, I have them daisy chained so that everything that goes through that mixer goes through that compressor noise gate. And so, like if I was playing music through it and stuff like that, that might not be completely ideal because I have that. Well, I have more than one. I have A, B, C, D, E, and some of them are just wild effects. But A and B, A is for talking, B is for singing, because I haven't done any recording in a long time, but I used to write songs and sing, and but I need musicians. I can't play any instruments, so I haven't got anybody to play for me right now, but I have done that in the past. That's one of the reasons why I bought this, because I never got to be a guitar player. I just like to play. I'd play with my guitar once in a while, but this could also do, it's really a guitar effects unit, but it can also do the V-amp too. I've had it for quite a few years now, maybe 10 years. It'll do the audio effect, the vocal effects, I mean, that I'm using right now. And they're not as good as, say, a lexicon or something, but they're what I used to use. I used to get to use some lexicons and stuff like that back when I was doing sound. I never actually owned a bunch of sound gear, but I would, use other people's stuff. And anyway, I got to use some stuff that I learned what I liked. Of the, I guess, medium grade, I never got to use any super expensive stuff. I didn't use any $35,000 consoles. I used $3,000 to $5,000 Mackie 32 channel or something, or mostly I use those Mackie VLC 16 channel boards, but and then some outboard gear and stuff like that. But back then everything was separate. Compressor, there was a rack mount compressor, and you had to have one. If you wanted more than one channel, you had to, mic channel, then you'd have to have a compressor for every channel. And then the effects, usually you would have a stereo effects, and then that would actually give you 2 channels of effects, because we always mixed in mono. In a live situation, it just doesn't make any sense to mix stereo. I won't go into all that, but that's how we mixed. And so that gave you your stereo effects unit, or EQ, that would give you 2 channels of effects, or 2 channels of EQ or whatever. And so that was nice, because you could put one channel on the main mix, and then the other channel you could put on like the most important mic, like the singer or whatever. Save money on gear, if you had a really nice setup. The ideal thing would be to have a compressor with a noise gate. Usually, DBX was the brand we used the most, and some of them, one of the first ones I used were just compressors, but then they started adding just kind of standard adding the noise gate to it. So you'd have a compressor, noise gate, and sometimes even a little bit of sweetener on it, something, I forget what it was exactly called, but kind of a sweetener, mic sweetener. And then we always had some kind of effects unit, give us some little delay and reverb and stuff. And usually we would put that on the way you would like this. You can do that on this board. Usually we would put that on the effects. You would do the effects send. You can do it on not on this board. It only has effects send on the channels. It's effects send and return. So you would send it out to the effects and then send it back into return, and then you can turn it up. Like on here, it's a little red knob. You can turn it up and down, in which all 4 of these channels here. But on a big mixer, like one of those Mackies, you can have effects send and return on the mains, and there's usually a subgroup, 2 or 4, usually 4 subgroups. You can have effects send and return on the subgroups. So like I was mostly doing full bands, so we would do with what we had. I don't go into too many details here, but usually it was either like have a compressor for, like I say, if you had 3 compressors, you're doing pretty good, because you could have all 3 vocalists compressed, because generally that's what you needed on the most. The human voice is the most dynamic instrument in the world. It can go the highest and the lowest and the quickest changes. That's what you can't keep up with without a compressor and all that. And drums are really good to have a compressor on, but what you can do is send all the drums to one subgroup and then put one compressor on that subgroup. So that's only one channel of compression in and up. It's not as nice as having one for every channel, but we never had, I never worked where we could afford to have we might have 4 compressors would be the most we would have. So usually what we would do is put a compressor on the main output and then 2 or 3 of them on the vocals, Usually there's no more than 3 singers in a regular band, so. But usually those backup singers were the ones that especially with stuff I mixed for, would be Christian punk, hardcore, and metal, and so they were always doing screaming and grindcore and all that stuff. So if you didn't have a compressor, you had nothing but distortion the whole time. So anyway, I've got compression, noise gate, and effects all built into this unit here. And so what I'm using now is an effect to actually flatten the signal and make it not reverb, to make a nice talking voice. And that's all digital. Yeah, that's all digital. It's an analog signal coming in and out of there, but the effects are all digital. And back in the olden days, in the 90s, when those rack mount units, it's kind of, I can't remember, and I didn't know enough back then. I know a lot more now, but still, those DVXs and all those different things we used back in the early 90s especially, I'm not so sure if they were considered digital or analog gear. You can get the same results with the real difference is, and I don't know which components you would use, but like your common components in electronics, capacitors and resistors and all those different things. And I really couldn't say. I don't know how to build one. You can put that stuff together in the right way, and you get the desired effects. And you really do have to know you got to really know you got to be an electronics engineer or really study a lot. Now with digital, you can buy one chip that can do half of it, and then another chip that will do the other half, and you're done. And nowadays those chips are cheap, so that's the way they build everything. They don't, and for a whole lot less components. Well, when you just look, I've looked at, especially on videos online, when you look at old gear from the 60s, 70s, from the 70s up to the early 2000s that are considered analog gear, audio gear and stuff like that, or video gear, they're not a whole wide range of differences like the component count. But then between, I guess if you were an analog electronics guy, you might say I'm wrong, but I have to just look at it when somebody shows a video of here's a teardown or whatever, or if I actually look at something in real life, and then you look at something that has digital processors in it, there's still about the same amount of components in there. Depending on what it's doing, there may be more in the newer ones. But yet you're combining several actions in that digital processor. But then I've been watching some videos. I was watching one from some computer, part of a computer from the 50s, and these guys are serious engineers, electronic engineers. They were commenting on how much components it took. This was tube gear, this was tubes and capacitors and stuff. It wasn't so many capacitors. I think a bunch of resistors and some tubes. Those are the things I knew what they were. And then they named off some other things. I don't remember what they were now, but they were testing it and seeing if they wanted to get it up and running and hopefully even get the rest of the computer and build a computer. And it did work. And by the way, that stuff's still working, a lot of it, if you know how to bring it up right, not blow it up. But anyway, but the only thing about the miracle of digital audio and video processing is, again, I've never had so much trouble. The only time I ever even spoke the word latency or delay, we would say we're going to put some delay on that. Singers will sound better, but the only time we had a problem with latency, audio delay, It's when you were doing a huge outdoor show. Now, I never actually did an outdoor show that big. I did some outdoor shows, but they weren't so big that you needed what they called a line delay. If you kept going, well, let's say most of our snakes, the longest ones we really ever used were 150 feet. Now, when you get beyond that and start getting another 50 feet, another 100 feet behind that, then you get to the point where you're going to need a line delay, because the people standing back there, if the speaker, if it's not on a line delay, then they're going to hear a huge nasty echo that drives you crazy. So the sound can travel. What it is the sound can travel faster over the wire than it can over the air. So they're hearing the sound coming from the stage, from the speakers, you know, down closer to the stage, and then they're also hearing the ones that are close to them. They always put them up on stands and stuff, you know, out in a live show. If you've been to one, you've seen them. Well, the ones, if you're close to some speakers, where you can, or whether you're close to them or not, you can hear some speakers that are near you, and then you're also still in that point to where you can still hear it coming from down closer to the stage, or even, like I said, say just in front of the soundboard. Maybe you're not hearing it from the stage, but from the speakers that are just in front of the soundboard. There is a huge noticeable echo, you know, and it's an irritating echo. It's not a good kind, you know. And so they use line delay. They put a delay on that speaker, on that line, and to sync it up. That's the same principle as what we're trying to do here, trying to get rid. And what's causing all this? Well, this is not just because of the, you know, digital, analog to digital conversion. That's part of it. It's not that bad in this desktop computer. I really can't hear any audible delay. Just when if I turn on my speaker, maybe I can tell just the tiniest little bit. If I was to turn on my speaker and listen to myself through this microphone, and that's all I was doing, I wouldn't have anything irritating. I could tell just the slightest little delay, maybe. I can't remember. I haven't done it in quite a long time. But where we get into serious latency and audio delay problem is when you start streaming audio. Audio is one thing. It's not too bad. You can tell there's a delay a lot of times. Well, actually, I can't hear. Well, I haven't been so long. I'd have to turn on my speakers, and that's gets into more problems with echo and all that junk. But if I turned on my speakers and listen, now sometimes I'll put on my headphones and listen to EQ something or something like that. That way I don't have that delay sound. Anyway, there is the lapel mic going through the phone over the Wi-Fi to the computer and through all the digital gear and, you know, chips and all that to OBS Studio through the software. There's a delay. Even if you can't hear it, there is a delay compared to the SM58 going through this analog gear into the sound card on the computer. And of course, there's that sound card, whether it's an onboard, which it is an onboard on this computer. It's got a ADC in it, analog to digital converter, so it's been having to make digital so the computer can work with it. And see, then the thing is, if you play it off the speakers, it has to be converted back to analog to go to the speakers, or to play through an amplifier through the speakers. So that's two conversions just for you to hear yourself over those speakers, and that's why you get that delay that drives you nuts. Okay, so but with video, that's a whole lot more data than audio, and adios, and that's what I should be saying. So that's the thing that we're fighting with, trying to fix, and with, you know, going over Wi-Fi and everything. So, you know, it's amazing that when I saw it working pretty well when I first started doing this, I already knew how to do audio delay and all that. I had to do that, you know. Once I got my audio delay set and everything, and it was working fairly well, I was like, wow, I can't believe it'll do this well. But then over time, it'd get really bad and get better again, really bad, get better again, and then recently it got bad and stayed bad. And I was just scratching my head going, what has changed? Why is it doing this? And I still don't know. Nothing. See, that's the thing. My fix that's working right now in this video, this is I'll be happy if it works, but it still doesn't make sense to me. Why did it get so bad? All when it used to work with the same settings. And it could be that after I shut down this video and start another one, it could go nuts again. It could be like I've been speculating, just because of the things I know about radio waves and all that. It could be that other routers, other signals, it's not the sun, it's nighttime right now, so that's not it. This whole last week here, I've been fooling with everything. I've been doing it at night, so it hasn't been the sun. I always say that it could be the sun, and it could be, but it sends out radio waves and every other kind of wave in the world, you know. Things that we maybe don't even know what they are, things that even our scientists don't know what they are yet. But ones they know about, some of them are scary. But yeah, the more I've gotten into trying to straighten this out, the more I really realize just how complicated it is and how many different factors there could be. The most common ones with Wi-Fi would be, you know, like, well, I turned off, I figured out for a year or two I was running 2 or 3 Wi-Fi routers. Well, they were fighting each other and making things worse instead of better, you know. And what I would do is if one wasn't working well, I would switch to the other one. And well, the first thing is well, I had these laptops for a couple of years, but I really hardly ever used them much. And so the only time when I did use them, I might take them out to the garage or something, you know. I wasn't in here anyway. Anyway, I did figure out that it's, you know, way better to run just one Wi-Fi router. Don't have them. I mean, if they're together in the same room. Now running one in here and one out in the garage as a repeater, that's great, you know, when they work good. The ones that I have out there now, one of them's in a box now because it just hardly works anymore. And then the link sys is turned off because I don't have my server outside right now. But it's about to die. It's about worn out. So that's again back why I'm going to put that TP-Link out there. But but if they're one's repeating the other, then they're not fighting. They're working together, making the signal stronger between each other. You know. So like when it gets weaker, you go to the living room well, actually, the TP-Link would get weak just as soon as you got into the living room. Now the D-Link that I'm using now, you can get out into the garage before it starts weakening. As soon as you go out through the kitchen door into the garage, it starts weakening, even with the door open. So with a repeater out there, then I should have a good strong signal all the way from one end of the house to the other. That's my plan here, and I'm pretty sure that's what's going to happen. Now, as far as all my problems I'm trying to fix here, I don't know what in the world would happen with that. It would be nice if it helped it, wouldn't it? But then there's the neighbor's Wi-Fi. I've showed them in one of the previous videos recently how strong the signals are from the neighbors. Now, many there are now. Everybody's got everything wireless and Wi-Fi, and even though, you know, one of the things is try to use different channels that your neighbors use, and that helps there. But of course, if you change a channel and then a lot of these routers, especially these days, are automatically change channels, trying to find the best channel. Well, maybe that keeps you can't keep away from them because they're following you, you know, or you're following them or whatever. Actually, I don't think the D-Link will do manual channels. It's just exactly backwards. The older routers, you had to do manual channels, and that's one of the things I learned, you know, early on was try to use a different channel than everybody else is using if you've got other people around with Wi-Fi. Only thing is, you didn't know what channels they were using, except for, I think one of my routers actually did sense that and tell you, one of my older routers, maybe the ZoneNet or something. But then when I got the phones with the Wi-Fi, I found that Wi-Fi Finder app, and I know there's plenty of other apps like that. Some kind of Wi-Fi finder, you know, sensing app, watching app. That really helped me. But recently I've realized, the other day I realized my D-Link is evidently automatic, and I think I'd have to look in there again, but I think I've already looked, and it doesn't have any manual settings, or else maybe I decided not to use them because I thought maybe it'll do better, being newer, on automatic. But I do remember my older routers didn't do better on automatic. Everybody was using automatic, and my neighbors, me and my neighbors, and we're all trying to use the same bandwidth, you know, channel 6 or so. So that's one thing. But then again, like I said, for last several years, I've just been seeing where they were, and then going somewhere else. Well, now they're they're moving around. They must have learned that or something. I think they saw that on my video. I made several videos talking about it. I doubt my neighbors watch my videos, though. I don't know if they even know I make videos. But since I don't get very many watchers, I doubt it. But anyway, yeah, I'm doing this for posterity. One day, somebody in the future will find these videos and say, "Oh, that's how you work on that old junk." So, that, and okay, now of course the rules are, and the theory, it's, I mean, I'll just say theory because I can't think of another word, but the theories are, I like to be showing something besides myself when I talk about stuff like this, but it take too long to get that phone out and get it all going. The theories are, well, there's laws that you can, you know, you have a target frequency. I don't care if it's a Wi-Fi, if it's a TV station, a radio station, AM, FM, a mobile phone, whatever it is. You have a target frequency that you're allowed to work within, plus or minus so much. And then the power of that transmitter, plus, you know, is regulated, so that you won't, because if not, if you get too powerful, or if you bleed over into the other frequencies, then you're fighting with each other, and the stronger signal is gonna walk on the other one. But this was fine. For instance, back when I was a kid in the 60s, FM radio was the clearest thing ever. AM radio was no problem, but FM radio was beautiful. It was in stereo, and AM was in mono. And I used to listen to the Motown stations because for some reason back in those days, those stations were in FM, and it was just like listening to a record. It was better than a record because there was no scratching or clicking. And I used to listen to them because I just couldn't get over that. And I liked it. When I was like 10, 12 years old, I actually did like a lot of that music. And but what, you know, I liked it, appreciated it more than really liked it, because I liked what I heard on those pop, at that time, the pop stations, you know. But pop wasn't like it is now. There was a big variety in different styles, everything from Peter, Paul and Mary to, well, when I was in high school, you know, Led Zeppelin and ZZ Top was on the AM radio. That's where we listened to it. It's the only place you could listen to it until Q102 came out, and 98 FM in this area, and they were playing rock and everything from Joni Mitchell and Carole King to Led Zeppelin and ZZ Top and The Who and Yes and all that. They played it all. Nowadays, all the music sounds the same, and especially the, you know, well, I don't know what's the most popular right now, but pop music all sounds the same. To me, the best place to find diversity and creativity is on the internet, and, you know, wherever, on YouTube or something. Or used to, it was just like you could go listen to stuff on the music sites. Now it's mostly video sites. It's pretty cool. But anyway, back, starting on a whole nother subject there. But the radio frequencies, the airwaves are more and more saturated. I like to read about this stuff or watch videos about it. Mostly when I find information, it's usually something you read. But the airwaves, they always said it was coming ever since I was young, and it's here now. And the airwaves are so saturated that everything is fighting with, all the signals are fighting with each other. Plus or minus the weather, the sun, you know, the buildings, the mountains, everything that radio waves have to get around or get through, and all that stuff. Or they can or cannot get around or get through. So, and since the government in the last few years auctioned off to the big companies, who they're the ones that can afford to put out the high-powered signals, they auctioned off a lot of what was public channels, you know, public frequencies. Our wireless mics, the wireless mics we used to use in the 90s and the early 2000s without a license. Now you have to have a license if you were going to use those mics, but it wouldn't really help you. I have a license. I have a radio TV operator's license because I used to be a master control operator. And I could run them legally without, you know, wouldn't get in any trouble. If, you know, if some FCC, FCC guy came up, he would say, I can show him my license, you know. But it wouldn't really matter because it's being walked on by the more powerful signals that have been, you know, they're more and more they're being implemented for whatever they're using it for, some sort of wireless device, mostly phones, I think, and mobile phones, and all the other new wireless things they're trying to sell, you know. We're walking on those frequencies now, so your little old handheld wireless mic or your lapel mic that used to be the best you could get back in the 90s or the early 2000s or even the mid 2000s, doesn't matter anyway. I thought about, well, hey, I could buy that stuff really cheap, and then I thought, yeah, and I bet they won't even work, and I'm almost sure they won't because, well, because what I've learned about it and we followed it over the years. I don't have one of those right now to just prove it, but there was already enough trouble with them when the buildings and different things and this and that. Anyway, they weren't perfect ever. Even well, the ones we had weren't the best. They were, I guess, the mid-range ones. The ones that cost $750 for a mic and a transmitter. Audio Technica was the brands we had. We had like 7 of them or something, and my friend's sound company that I worked with. But this was in the early to mid 90s. Back then, they were the up-and-coming brand, kind of. Well, Mackie was the up-and-coming brand back then. Back then, those were. There wasn't any that were. There might have been some that were $250, like an 80 or something, and they were total crap back then. But then the next step up for the real pros, like the rich recording artists, their sound crews would be using like $2,500, $3,500, or $5,000 wireless mic setup. One mic, you know. So that stuff has come down in price, you know, a lot, but there's still plenty of stuff that costs that much, of course. But anyway, I'm afraid that's one of the biggest problem with Wi-Fi or any other wireless technology. It's just going to get worse, even though it's come so far in the advancements in the technology. The airwaves are so saturated and becoming more and more saturated, and even though there's all this regulation, the regulators, you know, they're going to sell off these channels to the highest bidder. The government's selling these channels off to the highest bidder. The ones that used to be preserved for public use are now going to private use. And yeah, I mean, I'm sure there'll be some benefits to that, but the bad thing is, here's the thing that worries me. If it continues to the point, if it continues like I'm afraid it may, that they sold off a whole lot of channels that are in the Wi-Fi channel range. They're like right next to the channels we're using right now for our home Wi-Fi. So if they keep talking about they're going to put in wireless devices all up and down the neighborhoods, usually on the telephone poles or whatever. And it's a lot cheaper to put up wireless than it is to run new wires. And I think everybody's heard that the whole infrastructure of the whole country is getting older and older. And unless it's a brand new neighborhood, then it's getting older and it's expensive to maintain. And so one of the answers is to use wireless. But if they put up these powerful Wi-Fi in the Wi-Fi range of signals on the telephone pole behind your house, will your Wi-Fi routers even work anymore, or will they get completely walked on? They're going to be interfered with. At the very least, it's going to degrade your signal. So all this stuff that I can do, that like I said, it worked a lot better last year. Well, I don't know how long it's been, at least a year since I started doing the streams with the phone, with Wi-Fi, streaming my phones over the Wi-Fi, my cameras. I haven't got to our neighborhood. We're kind of a little, well, we're not that little anymore, but we're a little country town. And they haven't started coming around here with any of that stuff yet. But up in the cities, they have for years now. And I don't know. We'll see. But they've got the money to do the powerful signals. And even if they get out of the bounds of the regulations, the government doesn't have the resources to slap their, to do any more than maybe yell at them and try to slap their hands, but they can't slap their hands. They can't keep up with it, they can't keep up with it, especially the government, doesn't have the resources, the manpower to really completely, they're not going to stop anybody that fudges a little bit, any big company that fudges a little bit on that. And then you've heard, I guess you're always hearing of IoT, Internet of Things. Well, that's some more bandwidth in a little bit different area. I can't remember. I've seen charts of where everything is, but used to it was like a small fraction, an eighth to a quarter of the available air bandwidth, that was being used, and now there's about an eighth to a quarter left that's not being used. That's what I'm trying to say. So. And I don't even know about, the perhaps damage to people. I used to think, well, I guess it's all right because, people for years been saying mobile phones may be giving people brain cancer and all that. Well, but I have been saying for years, well, if you're worried about that, maybe you better pay attention to the complete saturation of radio waves everywhere. You think just because you stick that phone up to your head, oh, I'm going to get brain cancer. Well, that ain't nothing compared to what's out there all the time, no matter where you go, unless you're way out in the country where there's just, hardly any waves, airwaves. Maybe that's where I need to go. That's where I want to go anyway, not because of that, but I still want my internet. And that's probably going to have to be wireless. But then it'll be a benefit. So, let's see how long I can talk about junk. It's actually not near as long of a stream as I thought. Maybe it stopped and started again and I never noticed. Let me see how. Oh yeah, right here I can see. Oh yeah, okay, I guess so. Because this stream, I stopped OBS, rebooted OBS, and then closed OBS, opened it back up. I've been going an hour and 47 minutes, and over there on my live stream is 2 hours and 18 minutes. Recently have been known to jabber on about, well, I wasn't just jabbering, I've just been jabbering for a long time now. Usually I'm actually working on something, trying to fix a problem, like last time when my server I was just about to really get some headway, and then I was tired, and I kept going, and I wanted to reboot it, and it kept popping up a message when I hit, reboot. There's a program running. You sure you want to reboot? But it didn't say what it was or anything. And this was an XFCE desktop, and I'm used to Mate desktop. And if there is, and what it was not just an update to the system, but a kernel update. And I kept kind of waiting and thinking, trying to figure out what would it be and was it important. And it didn't say it was an update. It just said a program is running. Well, there's lots of times when there's some program that just doesn't want to shut down nicely. So I just thought, well, I decided it'd be all right. Well, it was a kernel update. Well, luckily, I still have the previous kernel and it'll still boot, but the new kernel is broken. I broke it because I shut it down in the middle of its installation is what I finally figured out. So now I'm going to try to fix that. But anyway, that was a really long stream, and so sometimes maybe you should stop before you mess things up. Well, now, see, that's one thing. When I have to have a break, I have to go. And so now I have to have a break, and so that'll teach me to keep rattling on. All right, I'm going to go. Hopefully this is going to be better enough to not have to keep working on this Wi-Fi latency problem and everything, audio-video latency. All right, bye-bye.